Hi, this is Suchi, and in the today's video, I am going to discuss about taking inputs from the user. So, in many coding ground related questions or competitive exams, we generally get input and output specifications, and there sometimes it says that this kind of inputs are present. So, the input will be a single line with n numbers separated with space, or maybe the input will be n number of elements separated with a comma. This kind of scenarios which we face generally in case of coding ground questions. So when we face this kind of questions, I am going to discuss how we can handle this. So let's move into the code. So first of all, we know that there is this input method to take the input. And if we take the input and we assign it in some variable, we can see easily that the value that has been returned by this input method is a string. So let's say numbers. We are getting input numbers and we can check that type of nums is a string. So let us just check it. Let me copy this thing and run this cell. I will paste it here. And you can see the type is string. So here you can see the data type of nums is a string. Now, here we have multiple numbers separated with space. So if we want these nums, not a string, but a list of integers. So how we can do that? Definitely, there is one method, one string method, which is dot split. And by default, if we do not specify any delimiter over here as a parameter of split method, then it will split it with any white space characters. That could be space, that could be tab, or any other white space character. So if we do this, then nums list, we can have this, and we can check what is there in nums list. Let us just print it to see what's happening. So here you can see, if we split this string with white space characters, what we are getting is a list of strings. Here you can see this 10, 20, 30, 40, they are strings. Now, we want to convert each and every string, each and every element of this list into integer. So how we can do this? So how we can do that for a single element? Let me just convert this 10 into an integer. Okay. So let me assign it back to this particular this thing itself. Okay, let me have a new variable over here. First element of nums list 0. So how we can convert this string into an integer? We can just use int. So int method we can use here, and we can check the data type of this, print the type of this, and we can check this is a integer. So we can easily convert a single element using this int method. Now, if you remember, in our previous video, we have talked about map function. So what is the duty of this map function? Map function will apply some functionality on every element of a list or of a iterable. So how we can use that here? So we can directly use, let me just remove these things. Let me show you how we can do that here. So this is just splitting it into list of strings. So we have this list of strings. If we send it to a map function, and the first parameter of a map function is a function that has to be applied on individual elements of the list. So if we pass, so here which function we need to apply on individual elements of the list? Definitely we want to convert individual elements of this list into integer. So we need to apply int method. So we will write int. This is the first parameter of map function. Second parameter is what? Second parameter is the iterable. Iterable is here, this list nums lst. So we will pass it. Now what is left? Now this map function is going to return a map object. But we don't want a map object, we want a list. So we can have this assigned to a variable, but before assigning, we can convert it into a list using this list constructor or list method. So this is going to convert each and every element of this list into integer. So we can just check what is happening. So here you can see it has become integers. If you want to verify, you can simply verify with the type function. You can just pass it, check for a single element, it is integer. So that is working fine. So how we can do this directly with the input method? We don't want multiple lines for this. We don't want multiple variables. We want to do it directly while taking the input. So how we can do that? Let me just copy this here. We have nums. So input is going to be returning a string, and then we can split the string. So instead of assigning this into another string and then splitting it, we can directly split it. So this part we will do it here itself. So if we do this, we can check the nums is going to be a list. So if we say nums, if we print nums as well, so here you can see, let me just copy the input from here. And here you can see, as we have just added dot split at the end of input, so whatever output input function is going to return, that is going to be splitted, and that is going to become a list of strings. So here we can see our nums is now a list of strings. Again, we don't want a list of strings to be present here. We want it to have list of integers. So then we will apply our map method. So what map was doing? As you can see, this nums.split we assigned in nums lst earlier. So this is nothing but having the same thing what nums lst was having earlier. So now if we want to convert each and every element of this list, whatever it is returning, into integer, then we need to apply this. So what we do, we will just add a map here, and we want to apply some function on this iterable. So whatever iterable this part is going to return, on that iterable we want to apply this int method. After that, this map object, which is going to be returned by this particular code, we have to convert that into a list. So we are adding a list over here. Now if we will see, let me just copy this input from here. Now if we will give this input here, you can see nums is now a list, and each element of this list are integers. Let me just zoom into it so that you can see it better. So here you can see, now we have what we wanted. So this is how we can use map method along with input. So while taking input, we can use map method to perform all these things together. So these two lines, this line and then this line, and then this line. All these things are summarized into a single statement, that is this one. So we have eliminated all those steps. So this is how we can use it. Now, let me show you another method. Let me show you another thing for this input. So as you can see here, the split was happening based on white space character. Now, if we want to split based on comma, how we can do that? We can easily do that. Let me just copy this input and have it here. So we want to have this input splitted into a list. How we can do that? We can easily do it with the help of, let me remove this, with the help of same thing, map method. Here it is going to be converted into integer, that is also fine. The same way we can do this, just the delimiter of the split should not be white space now, this should be comma. And if we do this, and if we run this, let me just provide this input, and you can see this has been converted into a list of numbers, integer numbers. So this is how we can conveniently use this map method with input. Now let us move into another example. So just consider this one. This looks similar like this. So this is only having space. This is only having comma separated country codes. So let me copy this input. So if we just simply split it with the help of comma, we should get a list of strings. And we need list of strings only. We don't need to convert it into integer. So we can simply use this syntax. Countries equal. We can say input. Whatever input it is going to return, let us just print it. Let me copy this as well. So here you can see, also let me print the type of this thing. So let me copy this, paste it over here. Here you can see the countries, data type of countries is a string and it is having this value. Now if we just split it using comma, we are going to get this value. Maybe let me add a new line as a separator. So here you can see this is a list type. Definitely countries has become a list because we have splitted it with comma. But here you can see this is fine. This is having extra space over here. This is also having extra space over here. So how we can do that? So what we can do for this? If we have extra space surrounding any string value, we can use the string dot strip method to remove the extra space. Here you can see we are able to do that. So how we can do this? With the help of our map lambda method. So let us see, let us look into it. So if we want to do this, if we have a lambda function, what lambda function we need over here? A function that will take, okay, let me just have a function over here first. Trimester, give the input string, and what we need to do? Return input string dot strip, right? If we do that, and if we run this for this value, let me just copy this value over here. So as you can see, this is solving our purpose. So how we can do it with a map? So you can simply guess it. We can add a map function over here, which will have the first parameter, because we want to apply this method on each and every element of this list. So what we need to do is, we are going to add this method as the first parameter of map function, and the second parameter will be our iterable, which is input splitted with comma. Now we have to convert it into a list to see the values. So let me just copy the input over here. So here you can see this is a list, and you can see that the trim method has been applied on each and every value of this list, and we are having the result as we expected. So instead of having this, we are having now a trimmed value. So this is what, but here, as you know already, this lambda function, this function we are using just once in this map. So do we need to declare, or do we need to define an entire function here? Or instead of doing this, we can directly have a lambda function over here, which is going to take one input, that is this input string, the same syntax, and then a colon. What it is going to return? It is going to return this one. So we can directly write it over here as a lambda function instead of having this function definition and using this function name. So we can run this thing and we can see the same thing is going to happen. Let me just copy this, paste it here, and you can see this is working fine. So we don't need this anymore. So we can do this with map, lambda, and input. Now let us look into another scenario. Just the last one that I have written over here. This one, let me copy this. So we can do this, we can perform the same thing using this. So here what we want, our input is in this way, but we want every word or every state, every city name to be having a capital letter at the beginning. So how we can do that? We can easily do it. Let me print it as well. So first of all, we will take the input dot split with comma. Let us see. If we input this, you can see we are having the comma separate. We are having a list of cities. I guess Pune is having an extra space as well. Delhi is also having an extra space as well because of this space over here. So first thing we can do is we can have this expression. So we can add a map method. We can pass it as a second parameter of this map method, and we can finally convert it into a list. So let me just write that. So now we have to decide what is the lambda function going to be. First of all, this extra space we need to remove. So to do that, what we can do is we can have x also instead of that big name. So we can just return x dot strip. So this is going to be the input and this is going to be the output of the lambda function. So it will just strip the extra spaces. So here we are going to check if the spaces are being stripped or not. So here you can see the extra spaces are removed. Now what we need to do is we need to capitalize each element of this list. So in string we have this capitalize method. So we will add it as a chain. We will write capitalize and then we run this. And here you can see each element is having a capital letter at the beginning. So here we are having our capitalized city names. So this is how we can efficiently use map, lambda and input methods together to get the input from the user. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comment section if you have any doubt, and keep learning, keep implementing.